strange silver sheen that marked the curse's touch. Marcus stood on the ceremonial platform, Vivian at his side, and tried to find words that would give his people hope. But what hope could he offer? They were dying, slowly but surely, and the only one who could save them had vanished into legend. "My pack," he began, his voice carrying across the silent crowd. "I know these past months have been difficult." He never finished the sentence. A wind rose from nowhere, cold and sharp, carrying with it the scent of wild roses and moonlight. The torches surrounding the square flickered and dimmed, and from the forest's edge, from the direction of the forbidden Shadowlands, came a figure. She walked with the confidence of a queen entering her throne room. The crowd parted before her like water before a ship's prow, wolves stumbling over themselves to get out of her path. Some gasped, others fell to their knees. A few of the elders made warding signs, ancient gestures meant to protect against dark magic. But Marcus couldn't move. He could only stare, because the woman approaching was Elara, and yet not Elara at all. The transformation. Gone was the gentle Omega in her simple dresses. The woman who climbed the steps to the platform wore black leather that hugged her body like a second skin, silver embroidery tracing patterns that seemed to shift in the moonlight. Her dark hair, once kept long and modest, was cut short, framing a face that had shed all softness. But it was her eyes that struck terror into Marcus's heart. They were pure silver now, glowing with an inner light that made them look almost inhuman. And when she smiled at him, it was the smile of a predator who had finally cornered her prey. "Hello, Marcus," Elara said, her voice deeper than he remembered, resonant with power. "Did you miss me?" Vivian moved forward, her beta instincts overriding her shock. "Elara, thank the goddess. You've come back to lift the curse, said from behind him, her voice tight with barely controlled panic. "That makes 15 in total. Elder Thomas says without intervention, we'll start losing them within a week." Marcus's jaw clenched. 6 months. 6 months since Elara had fled into the Shadowlands, and the curse she had unleashed showed no signs of weakening. If anything, it grew stronger, more insidious with each full moon. "The hunting parties?" he asked, though he already knew the answer. "None have returned from the Shadowlands." Vivian moved to stand beside him, her golden hair dull in the moonlight. She had lost weight, her beta strength sapped by the same curse affecting them all. "Marcus, we have to face the truth. She's gone. Either dead in those cursed woods or she doesn't want to be found." "She's alive," Marcus said with certainty he couldn't explain. Sometimes, late at night, he could feel something through the fragments of their broken bond. Not Elara as she had been, but something else. Something powerful and utterly foreign. "And she's coming back. How can you know that?" Marcus turned to look at his mate. Vivian was still beautiful, still the woman his wolf had recognized as his true match. But their bond, which should have been a source of strength, felt tainted, poisoned by guilt and the screams of a dying pack. "Because," he said quietly, "I would, the festival of false hope." Despite the sickness, despite the dying land, the pack elders had insisted on holding the Harvest Moon Festival. "We must show strength," Elder Thomas had argued. "We cannot let fear consume us entirely." So now the central square was decorated with wilting flowers and dried corn stalks that crumbled to dust at the slightest touch. Wolves gathered, their festive clothes hanging loose on frames grown thin. Children who should have been running and playing sat listlessly by their parents, their eyes holding that. But her mother had also told her stories late at night about the moon whisperers of old. Women who bent fate to their will. Women who made kingdoms kneel. "Teach me," Elara said, and placed her hand in Kira's. The moment their skin touched, power surged through Elara. Not foreign but familiar, like coming home after a long journey. Silver light blazed around them both, illuminating the dark forest. "Welcome, sister," Kira said, her amber eyes shining with approval. "Your true life begins now." And in that moment, standing in the cursed forest with her hand clasped in a stranger's grip, Alara smiled. Not the gentle, pleasing smile of an Omega trying to make everyone comfortable, but the sharp, dangerous smile of a woman who had just discovered her claws. The old Alara had died in the sacred grove. What rose in the Shadowlands was something new, something powerful, something that would make them all regret the day they broke her heart. The Moon Whisperer had awakened, and soon, very soon, she would return. What will Alara become in the Shadowlands? Will Marcus regret his choice? And what revenge awaits those who betrayed her? Find out in Part 2, Rise of the Shadow Queen. Coming next. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Midnight Vows for more epic romantic revenge stories. B2 Part 2, Rise of the Shadow Queen. 6 months later, the harvest moon hung heavy in the autumn sky, blooding the world crimson. In the Silver Moon Pack territory, what should have been a time of celebration had become a season of despair. Alpha Marcus Blackthorn stood on the balcony of his den, surveying his dying kingdom. The fields that should have been golden with wheat were brown and withered. The forest, once lush and green, looked skeletal, branches reaching toward the sky like the arms of drowning men. And his people, his wolves, grew weaker with each passing day. Another child fell sick last night. Vivian. It may not be that simple, Elder Thomas warned. Moon Whisperers are not like normal wolves. Their power responds to their emotions, their will. If she wants us to suffer, we will suffer. Vivian appeared in the doorway, her perfect composure cracking. This is madness. She's just Alara. Weak, simple Alara. How can she have this kind of power? You never truly knew your sister, Elder Thomas said, his gaze sharp. None of us did. The moon goddess marks whom she chooses, and rank means nothing to her. Marcus turned from the window. Assemble a hunting party. We leave at dawn. We'll track her into the Shadowlands if we must. The Shadowlands? Vivian's voice rose. No one who enters the Shadowlands returns. Then I'll be the first, Marcus said firmly. But even as he spoke, doubt gnawed at him. What had he done? He had thought choosing his true mate was the right decision, the honorable choice. But now his pack was paying the price. And deep down, in a place he didn't want to examine too closely, he wondered if he had made the biggest mistake of his life. Alara's decision. In the Shadowlands, Alara stood before Kira's extended hand, the weight of her choice pressing down on her shoulders. What will it be, little wolf? Kira asked softly. Will you take my hand and step into your true power? Or will you return to your pack, beg their forgiveness, and spend the rest of your life wondering what you could have become? Alara thought of Marcus's face, the guilt but not regret. She thought of Vivian's triumph, the satisfaction of claiming something that had belonged to her sister. She thought of the crowd, watching her humiliation like it was theater. And she thought of the moonstone pendant still hanging around her neck, her mother's final gift. Her mother, who had been an Omega too, who had always told Alara that gentleness was not weakness, had watched. They had done nothing. Some had even laughed. If I go with you, Alara said slowly, will you teach me to control this power? Control it. Kira laughed, a sound like wind chimes in a storm. Oh, little wolf, I'll teach you to master it, to wield it like the weapon it was always meant to be. Why would you help me? Kira's expression turned serious. Because 20 years ago I stood where you stand now, betrayed by my mate, exiled by my pack, lost and alone. And no one came for me. No one taught me. I had to learn everything the hard way, through pain and trial and error. I won't let another moon whisperer suffer as I did. The sincerity in her voice was undeniable. Alara looked at the hand extended toward her, then back at the direction she had come from. Behind her lay her old life, her old self, everything she had thought she was. Ahead lay only darkness and uncertainty, but also possibility, power, change, the pack's fear. Back in the Silver Moon Pack territory, the celebration that should have followed Marcus and Vivian's impromptu bonding ceremony never happened. Within an hour of Alara's flight, wolves began falling ill. It started with the children. A high fever, weakness in their limbs, a strange silver sheen to their eyes. Then the warriors began to feel it, their strength draining, their wolves unable to shift properly. Even the crops in the fields began to wither, turning brown and brittle as if touched by winter's frost. Elder Thomas examined the sick, his face growing graver with each patient. Finally, he sought out Marcus in the Alpha's den. "It is as I feared," the elder said, his voice heavy. "The Moon Whisperer's curse has taken root. Without her blessing, the pack will slowly die." Marcus stood at the window looking out over his territory. Already he could see the effects. The once vibrant forest looked sickly, the leaves losing their color. "Then we'll find her. Bring her back. Make her fix this." As it stepped forward, she saw it was a woman, tall and lean, with silver hair and eyes that glowed amber in the darkness. "Who are you?" Alara demanded, scrambling to her feet. "My name is Kira," the woman said, her voice smooth and calm. "And I've been waiting for you, Moon Whisperer." The truth revealed. "How do you know what I am?" Alara asked, pressing her back against a tree. "I don't even know what I am." Kira smiled, a knowing expression that held both sadness and understanding. "Because I was once like you, betrayed, broken, exiled to these woods. And like you, I discovered that what everyone thought was a curse was actually a gift." "This doesn't feel like a gift," Alara said bitterly. I did something back there. Something terrible. I could feel it. I cursed them all." "Did you?" Kira moved closer, her movements graceful despite the rough terrain. "Or did you simply reveal the truth that was already there? The rot beneath the surface?" Alara shook her head. "I don't understand." "Come," Kira said, extending her hand. "There is much to teach you and little time. Your former pack is already feeling the effects of your power. Soon they will come hunting for you, demanding that you lift what you've done. You need to be ready." "Ready for what?" Kira's amber eyes gleamed. "Ready to decide whether you will be their savior or their reckoning." The choice. Alara stared at the offered hand. Every instinct told her not to trust the stranger, this woman who emerged from the shadows like a ghost. But what choice did she have? She was alone, powerless in her understanding of her own abilities, lost in a cursed forest. And beneath the fear and confusion, something else stirred. Anger. Not the hot, explosive rage that had erupted in the sacred grove, but something colder, harder, more permanent. Marcus and Vivian had humiliated her. They had used her, lied to her, made her the entertainment at their own twisted love story. And the pack. Alara looked at her hands, the light fading now, leaving her feeling hollow and exhausted. "I don't know," she whispered truthfully. "I didn't mean to." "She's cursed us," someone shouted from the crowd. "The Omega has cursed the pack. Seize her." But before anyone could move, Alara turned and ran. She ran from the sacred grove, from the accusing faces, from her sister's triumphant eyes and Marcus's guilty expression. She ran until her lungs burned and her legs trembled, until she reached the boundary of the pack lands. And then she kept running into the forbidden territory beyond. The Shadowlands swallowed her whole. The exile's first night. The Shadowlands lived up to their name. Ancient trees with twisted trunks blocked out the sun, creating a perpetual twilight. The air was thick and heavy, smelling of damp earth and decay. No normal wolf ventured here. The territory was said to be cursed, haunted by the spirits of exiled wolves who had died in disgrace. Alara stumbled through the underbrush, her beautiful white wedding gown torn and stained with mud. Thorns caught at her sleeves, ripping the delicate lace. She didn't care. She welcomed the pain. It was something real, something that proved she wasn't trapped in a nightmare. Eventually, exhausted, she collapsed beside a stream. The water ran black in the dim light, but when she cupped her hands and drank, it tasted clean and cold. She caught sight of her reflection in the water and barely recognized herself. Her eyes, normally a soft brown, now had flecks of silver in them. Her dark hair seemed to shimmer with the same strange light that had erupted from her hands. She looked wild, feral, Nothing like the gentle Omega who had walked down that petal-strewn path just hours ago. That Omega is dead, she whispered to her reflection. She died in the sacred grove. Did she? Alara spun around, her heart leaping into her throat. A figure stood in the shadows between two massive trees. Hours stirred inside Alara, something she had never felt before. It was hot and cold at the same time, ancient and furious. Her hands began to glow with a faint silver light. Alara, your eyes. Someone in the crowd whispered in fear. She looked down at her hands, watching the silver light pulse beneath her skin. The moonstone pendant at her throat blazed with sudden heat. Around the sacred grove, the flowers began to wither. The grass beneath her feet turned brown and brittle. What is she doing? Vivian gasped, pressing closer to Marcus. I don't know, Alara said, and she meant it. The power was flowing through her without her control, responding to her pain, her rage, her absolute devastation. I don't know what's happening to me. Elder Thomas's eyes widened with recognition and terror. Moon Whisperer, he breathed. She's a Moon Whisperer. The phrase sent a ripple of shock through the crowd. Moon Whisperers were creatures of legend, blessed or cursed by the Moon Goddess herself. They were rare, appearing perhaps once in a generation, and they wielded powers that defied the normal hierarchy of wolf ranks. That's impossible, Vivian said, her confidence faltering. She's just an Omega. She has no power. Clearly, she does, Marcus said, his voice tight with something that might have been fear. The silver light around Alara intensified. She felt words rising in her throat, words in a language she didn't know but somehow understood. You wanted a spectacle, she said, her voice echoing strangely. You wanted everyone to witness this moment. Then witness this. The power exploded outward. The curse spoken. It wasn't violent, but it was absolute. The silver light washed over the entire grove, touching every wolf present. When it faded, nothing looked different. But everyone felt it. A weight settling over their souls, a wrongness in their bones. What did you do? Marcus demanded, moving to shield Vivian. Her sister finally looked at her, and there was no guilt in her eyes, only cold satisfaction. I'm sorry you had to find out this way, little sister. But Marcus and I discovered our bond 2 weeks ago. We tried to fight it. Truly, we did. But you cannot deny fate. 2 weeks. Alara's voice cracked. You've known for 2 weeks and you let me. You helped me dress. You told me everything would be perfect. You lied to me. I didn't want to hurt you, Vivian said, but her tone suggested otherwise. But an Omega cannot stand between true mates. You understand that, don't you? The crowd murmured, some in sympathy, others in scandal-hungry excitement. Alara looked around at the faces staring at her. Some pitied her. Most were simply curious to see what she would do. Elder Thomas cleared his throat. Alpha Marcus, is this true? Do you claim this woman as your true mate? I do, Marcus said firmly. He didn't even glance at Alara. Vivian is my fated mate. The bond is absolute. Then, Elder Thomas looked at Alara, his ancient eyes sorrowful. I'm afraid there is nothing to be done. A true mate bond supersedes all previous commitments. The Moon Goddess's will is clear. Clear. Alara's voice rose, shaking with emotion. What's clear is that I've been humiliated, used, paraded in front of the entire pack like a fool. Alara, please understand. Marcus began. Don't. Alara held up her hand, and to everyone's surprise, including her own, Marcus stopped speaking. Something flickered in the air around her, a pressure that made several nearby wolves step back. Don't you dare tell me to understand. You could have told me in private. You could have spared me this. But instead, you waited until I was standing here, in front of everyone, dressed like a bride, ready to pledge my life to you. The awakening hammered against her ribs. The afternoon sun filtered through the towering pines, painting everything in shades of gold and green. At the end of the path stood Marcus, tall and broad-shouldered, his dark hair gleaming in the light. He was handsome, strong, everything an alpha should be. But as Alara drew closer, she noticed something wrong. Marcus wasn't looking at her. His eyes were fixed on something behind her, and his expression was not one of joy or anticipation. It was guilt. Elder Thomas, the pack's spiritual leader, raised his gnarled hands. We gather under the eye of the moon goddess to witness the sacred bond between Alpha Marcus Blackthorn and Omega Elara Moonwhisper. Let all who... Wait! Marcus's voice cut through the elder's words like a blade through silk. The grove fell silent. Even the birds stopped singing. Alara's stomach dropped. Marcus! He stepped forward, but not toward her. He moved to the side, creating space between them. I cannot do this. The words hit Alara like a physical blow. She felt her knees weaken, felt the earth tilt beneath her feet. What do you mean?
I'm sorry, Ilare.
Marcus's voice was steady, rehearsed. He had practiced this. I thought I could go through with it. I thought duty and friendship would be enough. But I cannot bind myself to someone I don't love. Not when my true mate stands before me. Your true mate. Alara's voice was barely a whisper. Marcus turned, extending his hand. And from the crowd, moving with the grace of a predator, came Vivian. The sister's betrayal. Time stopped. Alara watched, frozen in disbelief, as her sister glided forward. Vivian's green eyes sparkled with triumph, with a hunger that Alara had never seen before. She took Marcus's hand, and the moment their skin touched, a visible pulse of energy rippled through the air. The mate bond. True and undeniable.
No, Elara breathe.
No, this isn't. Vivian? Betrayed at the altar. The most beautiful lie. The morning of Alara's wedding day began with a lie. You look beautiful, sister, Vivian said, adjusting the silver circlet in Alara's dark hair. Her smile was perfect, practiced, the kind of smile that never quite reached her eyes. Alara stared at her reflection in the polished bronze mirror. The white ceremonial gown hugged her small frame, delicate lace covering her arms like frost on winter branches. She was an Omega, the lowest rank in the Silvermoon pack, but today she would become the mate of Alpha Marcus Blackthorn. Today everything would change. I'm so nervous, Alara whispered, her hands trembling as she touched the moonstone pendant at her throat. It had belonged to their mother, the only thing of value their family possessed. Vivian's hand closed over hers, warm and steady. Don't be. Marcus loves you. Everyone can see it. Another lie. But Alara didn't know that yet. She smiled at her older sister, grateful for the comfort. Vivian had always been the strong one, the beta-ranked wolf with golden hair and sharp green eyes. She could have had any mate she wanted, but she had never shown interest in bonding. She had always said she was waiting for something special. Come, Vivian said, taking Alara's hand. They're waiting for you. The ceremony of shattered dreams. The sacred grove was packed with wolves from across the territory. Hundreds of them, dressed in their finest clothes, had gathered to witness the rare spectacle of an alpha taking an omega as his mate. It was unconventional, some whispered scandalous, but Marcus had insisted. Love doesn't see rank. He had told the pack elders 3 months ago when he announced the engagement. Alara is kind, gentle, and pure of heart. She will make a perfect Luna. Alara had cried tears of joy that night, believing she was the luckiest Omega alive. Now, as she walked down the petal-strewn path toward the ancient mating stone, her heart. Save the pack. Save the pack. Alara's laugh was cold and beautiful, like ice cracking on a frozen lake. Oh, sister, why would I do that? The words fell like stones into still water, sending ripples of fear through the crowd. Elder Thomas stepped forward, his ancient body trembling but his voice steady. Elara Moonwhisper, you stand before your alpha and your pack. We know you have been wronged. We acknowledge the pain you suffered. But innocent children are dying. Whatever grievance you hold, surely it does not extend to them. Alara's silver eyes fixed on the elder, and for a moment, something flickered in their depths. Pain, perhaps, or memory, but then her expression hardened. Innocent? she said softly. Tell me, Elder Thomas, where were these innocents when I was humiliated before the entire pack? When my betrothed claimed my own sister as his mate on what should have been my wedding day? When I ran, broken and alone, and not one voice rose in my defense? That's not fair. Marcus found his voice at last. What happened was, it was complicated. The true mate bond. Don't. The single word cracked like a whip, and Marcus felt power slam into him, driving him back a step. Don't you dare speak to me of bonds and fate. You made your choice. You chose your comfort, your desire over honor. Over me, the companion in shadows. Movement at the edge of the platform drew everyone's attention. Another figure emerged from the shadows, and this one made even the bravest wolves retreat. Kira walked with the grace of smoke, her silver hair flowing behind her like a banner. She wore the same black leather as Alara, marked with the same shifting silver runes. But where Alara's power felt like a storm building, Kira's was the calm before lightning struck. Is this the pack that cast you out? Kira asked Alara, her amber eyes scanning the crowd with evident distaste. They look even more pathetic than you described. Who are you? Vivian demanded, though her voice shook. I am Kira Nightshade, the silver-haired woman replied. Last moon whisperer of the Darkwater pack, or at least I was the last, until I found dear Alara wandering your cursed woods, broken and bleeding, left to die by those who should have protected her. A murmur ran through the crowd. The Darkwater pack had been destroyed 15 years ago, torn apart by internal war. No survivors were supposed to exist. You trained her, Elder Thomas said, understanding dawning in his ancient eyes. You taught her to weaponize her gift. Gift? Kira's laugh was harsh. Is that what you call it? The moon goddess doesn't give gifts, old wolf. She gives burdens, tests, and those who survive them. She placed a hand on Alara's shoulder, a gesture of solidarity. They become something the world should fear. Marcus felt the situation spiraling out of control. His dying pack, 2 moon whisperers standing before him radiating power, and Alara, his Alara, looking at him like he was a stranger. Worse, like he was an enemy. What do you want? He asked, forcing himself to meet those silver eyes. Name your price. Whatever you want, it's yours. Just save the pack. The price of mercy. Alara tilted her head, studying Marcus as if he were an interesting insect. Whatever I want. That's a dangerous offer, Alpha. Are you certain you're prepared to pay? The children are dying, Marcus said, and for the first time since she'd appeared, he let her see his desperation. Alara, whatever I did to you, whatever pain I caused, they don't deserve to suffer for it. Please, I'm begging you. Something flickered across Alara's face. For just a moment, the silver in her eyes dimmed, and he saw a flash of the woman he had known. The gentle healer who couldn't bear to see anything suffer. Then it was gone, replaced by that cold, terrible resolve. You're right, Alara said quietly. The children don't deserve this. None of the innocents do. But you see, Marcus, that's the problem with curses. They don't discriminate. They touch everyone, guilty and innocent alike. Rather like public humiliation at a wedding ceremony. Wouldn't you say? Alara. However, she continued, raising her voice to carry across the square, I am not without mercy. I will lift the curse. I will heal your dying land and your sick children. I will restore the Silver Moon Pack to its former glory. Relief flooded through Marcus so powerfully it made his knees weak. Thank you. Thank you, But, Alara said, and that single word froze the hope in his chest. There is a price. Anything, Marcus said immediately. You haven't heard it yet. It doesn't matter. Name it. Alara's smile was sad and terrible. Very well. I will lift the curse and heal your pack. And in exchange, you will step down as Alpha. You will renounce your title, your lands, your authority. You and Vivian will be exiled from Silvermoon territory, cast out just as I was. You will live in the Shadowlands, alone and powerless, for the rest of your days. The square erupted in chaos. The impossible choice. Absolutely not. Vivian shouted, pushing forward. Marcus, don't listen to her. She's mad with power. We'll find another way. There is no other way, Kira said, her voice cutting through the noise like a blade. The curse is keyed to Alara's will. Only she can lift it, and she has named her price. Marcus stared at Alara, searching her face for any sign of the woman he had once. What? Cared for? Loved? He couldn't even say now what he had felt. Affection, certainly. Fondness. But had it been enough? Had it ever been enough? If I accept, he said slowly, you'll save them all? Every wolf? Every child? I will, Alara confirmed. The land will bloom again. The sickness will fade as if it never was. Silvermoon will thrive. And who would lead them? Who would be Alpha? Alara gestured to Elder Thomas. The elders can choose. A vote, perhaps. Democracy instead of bloodline. Imagine that. This is insane. Vivian grabbed Marcus's arm. She's demanding we give up everything. Our home, our ranks, our life. Will be nothing. Less than nothing. Marcus looked at his mate, seeing the fear in her green eyes. Then he looked out at his pack, at the sick children being held by their desperate parents, at the warriors too weak to stand, at the land dying beneath a curse born from his own cruelty. You would be what I was, Alara said softly, stepping closer. Powerless, alone, cast out by those who should have valued you. Tell me, Marcus, is that not justice? It's revenge, he said. Sometimes, Alara replied. They're the same thing, the Alpha's choice. Marcus closed his eyes. 6 months ago, he had stood in the sacred grove and made a choice. He had chosen his true mate bond over his commitment. He had chosen his desire over honor. He had thought it was the right decision, the honest one. Now he understood the weight of choices, the cost of decisions, the price of taking the easy path. If I refuse? He asked, though he already knew the answer. Then the curse continues, Alara said simply. The pack dies. Slowly, painfully, but inevitably. In a year, maybe 2, there will be nothing left of Silvermoon but ghosts and regrets. You would let innocent people die to punish me? I would let the consequences of your actions play out, Alara corrected. This curse exists because of what you did, what you chose. I'm simply offering you a way to end it. But the cost. She smiled. The cost is everything. Vivian was crying now, her perfect composure shattered. Marcus, please. There has to be another way. We can fight her. We can. Fight 2 moon whisperers? Marcus shook his head. With what army? Even at full strength, we couldn't stand against that kind of power. And we're not at full strength. We're dying. He looked at Alara one last time, searching for mercy, for compassion, for any remnant of the gentle Omega he had known. But she looked back at him with eyes of silver and a heart of stone. I accept, Marcus said. The square fell silent. What? Vivian's voice was barely a whisper.
No.
No, Marcus, you can't. I accept your terms, Marcus repeated, louder this time. I will step down as Alpha. Vivian and I will accept exile. But you will keep your word. You will save them all. Alara nodded slowly. I will. You have my oath as a moon whisperer, sworn by the goddess herself. The moment you leave Silvermoon territory, the curse will lift. Then I have only one question, Marcus said. Will you take my place? Will you become Alpha Luna of Silvermoon? The question clearly surprised Alara. For the first time since her return, uncertainty crossed her face. She began, then stopped. They need a leader, Marcus pressed. Someone strong enough to protect them. Someone who understands what it means to suffer. Who better than you? The unexpected arrival. Before Alara could answer, a new presence made itself known. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was simply there, as if it had always been there, and everyone was only just noticing. A man stood at the edge of the platform, tall and broad-shouldered, wrapped in a cloak of midnight blue. His face was hidden by shadow, but power radiated from him like heat from a forge. Every wolf in the square felt it, the undeniable aura of an alpha. Not just any alpha, an alpha king. That, said a deep voice from within the hood, is an excellent question. The man stepped forward into the moonlight, and Marcus felt his world tilt again, because he recognized this wolf. Every alpha in the 5 territories would recognize him. Darius Thornheart, king of the United Packs, ruler of the 5 territories, had arrived. He was younger than Marcus had expected, perhaps 30, with dark hair that fell to his shoulders and eyes the color of storm clouds. A thin scar ran from his left temple to his jaw.